Salutations to all. It is I, the leader of Comic Convo Express, Master Charles Pevgamerson. I have a lifelong dream of comic book fans living amongst normal society with tolerance. For there are intolerable enemies of the Comic Convo Express community known as Hollywood. For this, I need to call upon help. Using my powers, I call upon my Express Comic Man. To me, my Comic Convo Expressers.
And here we are. Hello, everybody. Happy Memorial Day as we're recording this. I'm Pedro, the Marvel fanboy. Over here, my sidekick.
This is Tom McCoy. Here we go. Let's rock.
We're going to use our mutant powers to give you all the rundowns on everything big in our topic today, the X-Men. So just sit back, relax, and this big special two episode special. We're starting one today and another one next week, so be ready for that timeline.
It's Monday. We'll be filming Saturday.
Yeah, so a couple days from now.
Happy Memorial Day, guys.
Happy Memorial Day. Represent the soldiers, and of course, you know, I'm drinking my W. I'm my Captain America, you know, for Memorial Day, represent. So, just want to say that. All right, so welcome to the Comic Convo Express. We are live on twitch.tv.
Welcome all.
/PevGamer. And you can check us out on YouTube channel. Yes, we have our own YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the action. And hit the like and subscribe, you know. So, you know, because that way you love us. So, Pev, what's going on today?
So, a couple things, guys. This episode, as you've heard, is in fact a two-parter of the X-Men comic book series run by Marvel Comics. Now, we will be doing a couple things here. Let's see. Segment 1 for today's episode shall be your top 5 mutants. Now, this does have some rules to it. No mutates, so that would exclude people like Deadpool. You have to be born with your mutant abilities in hand. So, Tommy, I'm going to let you kick this one off.
All right, guys, welcome aboard. First off, I have my top right here. I've got Jamie Braddock Jr., first appearance of Captain Britain Weekly from 1976. The older brother of the twin superheroes, Captain Britain and Betty Braddock, which is Psylocke from the X-Men, possessing the ability to manipulate reality in various ways. He was a financial whiz, a race car driver, and a race car driver who had an experiment done by, believe it or not, by a doctor named Dr. Crocodile that drove him literally insane, and which awakened his powers and turned him into a character called Monarch. Insane, like I said, and can also create life and create timelines out of basically nothing. But number 4, I've got David Charles Haller, believe? Holler. First appearance, New Mutants 25, March 1985. Son of Charles Xavier, one of the most dangerous mutants in the MCU, possessing unspeakable power. To name a few, reality warping, shape-shifting, levitation, flight, telepathy, telekinetics, teleportation, and dimensional time travel. And, P, you remember a while back they had this story called Legion's Quest? Basically, we'll touch on that eventually one time.
Of course.
He went actually back in time, and he actually killed Magneto, which altered the whole reality, which did a storyline called Legion's Quest. And when he went back in time to alter the reality, that was the prequel to Age of Apocalypse. Which was another amazing story. Number 3, I've got Hope Summers. They call her the Messiah Baby.
Hey.
Did a beautiful storyline called Messiah Complex. Her first appearance was X-Men 208, January 2008. First mutant born after the events of House of M storyline.
Yeah.
She can manipulate any mutant power that's near her. She doesn't even need to touch them like how Rogue does. Just tell you a little bit about her powers. She has power absorption, immunity, power enchantment, power restorement, power activation, power attracting, go Power Rangers. She has power bestowment, power obliviation, power tracking, power synergy, power basically everything. She controls over the new storyline that's going on in X-Men with the Krakoa.
Yes.
She has power over the 5 lights.
It's the source of bringing back dead mutants.
Yes.
We'll get to that later.
And she even one of her storylines, she's so powerful that she actually heed the words "Phoenix No More," which resurrect all the mutants that died during the age of the House of M storyline. Mm-hmm. All right,
and she's the adopted daughter of Cable. Yes, that Cable. So that's why her last name is Summers, because when she was born, she was orphaned. And Cable, to protect her, because she was the first mutant born since House of M, where the Scarlet Witch deemed no more mutants, he took her in and raised her, going through the timelines, and basically protected her as much as he could. And that's how she ended up the name Hope Summers.
That was a great story.
It was a very great story.
Okay. All right, my number 2, I got Quentin Quire.
I think it's Quire.
Quire. Kid Nova, first appearance, New X-Men 134.
I think it's Kid Omega.
Kid Omega.
Spots.
He hasn't reached his full potential yet. He surpassed all active known telepaths in the MCU.
Yes.
He is an Omega level mutant. Powers ability, telepath kinetics, telekinesis, genius level of intelligence. He also saw a glimpse of himself in the future, which he knew that he was going to obtain the force of the Phoenix, which was amazing.
And don't forget, he has pink hair.
Pink? Hey,
Pink.
no judging.
No judging.
No judge zone. There you go.
But he has pink hair, which,
Why do I feel like you had a whole vendetta against him for having pink hair?
Well, I mean, he to me, he represents the next generation of, fighting the authority.
Audience
That's
has
what he
pink hair!
The fact that he had pink hair told me that he was backing himself up against authority, and I thought that was pretty cool of him. But,
like rebelling in a sense?
Yeah, rebelling. Like, this is who I am. Don't like me, take it to who I am.
But that's what you got from pink hair?
Well, that's why, to me, it was weird at the time I first saw him, but, like, it stuck to me. Like, every time I think of pink hair, I think of Quentin Quire, the Kid Omega, so that's why I say it that way. But I don't, no judgment there.
All right, my number 1 on the list is Jean Grey, a.k.a. Madeline Pryor, a.k.a. Marvel Girl, a.k.a. Phoenix, a.k.a. Dark Phoenix,
a.k.a. Harbinger of Death.
First appearance was in X-Men from 1963, number 1. She's not only is she carrying a maturing figure,
yes,
but she also has dealt with being the Alpha Omega level mutant and a manifestation of the Cosmic Phoenix and Dark Phoenix also. The Dark Phoenix transformed her to an Omega level mutant. Powers basically telekinetic, telekinesis, empath. And with the powers of Phoenix, she has cosmic, protokinetics? Pyrokinetics, teleportation, matter manipulation, and immortality and resurrection. And later we'll talk about the Dark Phoenix saga. And that's mine, P. What do you got for yours?
Well, mine, I try to keep it simple. Now we'll keep it simple. Most of them you hit. But these, Tommy, I think, went mega level mutants. I'm going to go simple. So here's my top 5, real quick.
Wait. Clarify that. Clarify that a little bit. You're saying that Tommy went for Omega level mutants, like powerful.
Can wipe everybody out, make all humans fear them.
Game over, man.
You just gave them reason to be scared of mutants.
Game over.
So your list is based on the popularity of your mutants.
Popularity / who I like the best, and / people will agree with me on this and I'll put up my case. So 5, I put Iceman because I remembered him when I first introduced to him from Uncanny X-Men. Then later on, he showed up in Spider-Man's Amazing Friend. Then he showed up in the cartoons, and then of course the book carried him all the years. His powers are pretty cool. Turns ice
Iceman.
Makes ice.
He's an Omega level
You know,
mutant also.
he is Omega level, but I think his maturity level keeps him at, you know, like the Human Torch, if you know, it's similar. So you keep him at a realistic level. And I like the way he does it. If I could take you down, but at the same time, doesn't have to kill you. Just use his powers, and he's cool about it. He has fun being who he is.
What's Iceman's real name?
Bobby Drake.
Bobby Drake.
Bobby Drake. There you go. Number 4, another mega level, but he is popular, and I put him on this category as an X-Men as well. Magneto. Power magnetism. If you've seen the cartoons, you know what he's made of. If you've seen the movies, again, you know what he's made of. And if you read the book, you know what he can do. Point blank. But he's number 4 on my list because, you know, he switched sides so much. He says things he believes in, but yet he sometimes goes the other way. And I don't know. It's kind of like...
He's like a good bad guy.
Yeah, a very good bad guy. He's one of those villains you can relate to. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. You can relate to why he's a villain. You know, there's the Red Skull, other villains that we've seen that you know they're bad. You don't care what his origin was. It's not right. But Magneto, you could kind of sympathize to. So I put him at 4. Number 3, Nightcrawler. Teleportation. He could bamf and go into other areas he wants. Leaves the smoke behind. He looks like a demon with a tail and everything like that. But, you know, he's German and, you know, he used to be a circus performer, and as well he became a priest after a while.
Yeah, he's religious also.
Very religious, very relatable. I like his look and the way he sword fights. He always gets the girls. That was another thing about him when he was
sword fights.
Yeah, sword fighting in Excalibur. If anybody read that
heavy
series.
paws.
But he made it look cool. You know, fencing. You know, but he made it cool. So I can't really knock that. That's for.
And also, when he graduated from School of Xavier, he also became a member of the Excalibur.
That's right, he did. One of the founding members at the time, Captain Britain, Megan, I think it was. Rachel Summers and Kitty Pryde. So they were Excalibur. I know, the second Phoenix.
Another Phoenix.
Which brings me to another Phoenix, number 2, Jean Grey / Phoenix. You already explained the details, so I'm not going to touch it. But here's the funny thing. I put her on high in this list. When she was first introduced, it was supposed to be a love interest to Cyclops, Scott Summers.
Correct.
And over the years, you know, they had that whole difficulty of her dying and then being cloned and Madeline Pryor coming in and they had a baby together, Cable being born. Not to confuse everybody, but we'll get into that later. But Jean Grey came back. She was the Phoenix, and then she wasn't the Phoenix, and then she was the Phoenix. And at first, it was like, okay, make up your mind. But but it also helped develop her in the book, where she became a stronger person. She could stand on her own. She didn't need a man to like make her who she is. It didn't define her. And that, I give her props. And over the years, you know, even though playing around with Wolverine and Cyclops, you know, emotionally, she was still a stronger person. She knew what she wanted. She was going to go get what she wanted. And I kind of put her really high on the list. Leads me to the number 1 man, the man, Wolverine. Enough said. I'm not going to get too much into him. We know who Logan is. You know, the best there is of what he does, his mutant powers, healing factor,
you know his
pops
origin.
Of claws, you know, the adamantium.
You know
we all know about him.
Yeah.
We'll hit him in another episode.
Yeah.
But he is the most popular X-Men, popular mutant,
yep.
popular everything. And I put him in number 1. I don't disagree with that. So
nice.
So that's my list.
That's a good list, man.
I also made another list. I'll hit them really fast on coolest mutant. And 5 was Colossus, 4 was Storm, 3 was Bishop, and that was personally my favorite. 2, Gambit. And of course, number 1 is still the same. Wolverine. So that's why I'm not touching that, but I had to say it. So it was pretty cool.
All right, gentlemen. So we're going to move on to segment... oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Segment 2, which is the definitive X-Men storyline from both of you. I want you both to pick your favorite X-Men story. Definitive, basically, storytelling of mutants, of the X-Men as a team, or a specific character. Please note that for some housekeeping purposes, we are excluding any X-Men crossover events with other. So no, right? So no A versus X, no Civil War, exactly. So Tommy, I'm gonna let you start this one off.
Oh, cool. Mine's is the Dark Phoenix saga. Uncanny X-Men from 129 to 138. In January through October from 1980, written by the famous Chris Claremont, art by John Byrne, and ink by Terry Austin. three of the killers combination in comics. It's focused on the superhero Jean Grey and the cosmic entity Phoenix Force. Jean Grey corruption by the power of the Force introduced the Hellfire Club, which was in, I believe, in X-Men 129, and also plus it talks about and touches on the destruction that she causes with the Phoenix Force. I remember in that storyline where Jean Grey turns to the Phoenix, goes in space, and she finds an alien race on the planet, and she just obliterates it and kills it. So therefore, I'll wrap it up really quick. I won't touch too much. And then the Shi'ar Empire, they put it to a judge, and Professor Xavier's like, listen, I'll have my X-Men, fight for Jean Grey, and whoever wins, we'll take it from there. Man, it was a slobber knocker, man.
It was.
They had
the Imperial Guards.
The Imperial Guards,
the
and they had
it was just everybody was trying to take down Phoenix, especially when she was losing control.
Yeah.
And even Wolverine had the opportunity to take her down, and his emotions with her could not do it. He couldn't pull the trigger.
And they had Gladiator go toe-to-toe with Colossus, which was an amazing fight scene.
Yeah, they were trying to. They did everything possible to save her, and it was the Phoenix may not have been redeemable, but the person Jean Grey was, and that's where the complication with the Shi'ar, where they're looking at the safety of the universe. So it was kind of like one of those, no one was right. I mean, no one was wrong, but no one was right as well, because you're talking about somebody's life and the judgment that needed to get done versus what options they had. And in the end, there was no option. And the Phoenix had to be taken down, and Cyclops had to do the heartbreaking thing to do it. And
they also reprinted this. If you're an X-Men fan at all,
yes.
or even if you're not an X-Men fan, this is a must-read.
You
have to read this. This has to be on at least your top 10 or top 5.
Yes.
A couple notes. I stated before, X-Men 129, first appearance of Kitty Pryde, Hellfire Club, and Emma Frost.
Mm-hmm.
X-Men 130, first appearance of Taylor Swift. First appearance of Dazzler. I pray she's in the movie because,
she would make a good Dazzler.
Yeah, she would nail it. I think she fits the part.
I agree.
So, Pete, what do you got for yours?
And then you also got to add in X-Men 101 to 108, because that's what began the Dark Phoenix saga, called the Phoenix Saga. That's when Jean
initially got
the Phoenix Force.
Yep.
So I counted that as one storyline, even though it came there was a break between 108 to 129. So it was but it's all connected. When they reprinted, they kept them together. So so that was my number one as well. However, I'm gonna gotta give props to some of these storylines. I'll throw this one at you. Cool. Days of Future Past. Again, definitely. By Chris Claremont and John Byrne and Terry Austin.
That was a 2-issue storyline.
It was in 141 and 142.
Yes.
And that was where we find out about the alternate future of what happens when the Sentinel program actually worked and the mutants were on the run, and it was like dystopia future. It was so bad. They did bring Kitty Pryde back in time to give us origin. I think it was Kitty Pryde was a Rachel Summers, one of those two. They introduced Rachel Summers in that storyline, as well as an older Nathan Reed Richards' son.
Oh, Nathan Richards.
Nathan Richards, thank you. It was a very awesome storyline.
I'm so sorry. He said, Franklin, Reed Richards' son. Richards, you mean?
Richards, yeah. No, it's actually, I correct, it's Franklin Richards. But he was older, he was really powerful. At the end of that storyline, which was it wasn't a happy ending, but you get to see Wolverine, an older Wolverine, take on a Sentinel that, could have happened any time, and he vaporized. I don't want to spoil it for you, but let's just say...
Gotta spoil it.
That's when we
all
learned...
Spoilers.
You want to spoil it?
All spoilers.
Adamantium bones was all that was left of him. Yeah. So that was, to me, was like the best scene. John Byrne did an awesome job drawing that. I thought it was pretty good. Going down to E is for Extinction. If you remember that storyline by Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly.
One of my favorite writers right there, Grant Morrison.
That's when the title was turned into New X-Men from 114 to 116, where E for Extinction, it was the introduction of the next generation of mutants. Yep. Meanwhile, our X-Men were growing and shrink at the same time because they got rid of the old costume and went with the leather black outfit, which, it's an argument there.
Something different. A little twist.
Different. But Grant Morrison gave us an interesting twist of the X-Men world, and this was probably right after the House of M, where the rules was no new mutants, and he kind of broke that rule, but he actually, it fit into the storyline, and I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty good to see, and bringing back the Phoenix as well. Another storyline was God Loves Man Killed by Chris Claremont and Bill Anderson. It was in the graphic novels number 5.
It's like a larger size issue.
Yes, and it introduced us to Reverend William Stryker, which obviously if you've seen X-Men 2, William Riker was the main villain from the Wolverine Weapon X program. But in this one, he was a priest who hated mutants, and he believed that mutants were abominations of through God's eyes, and it caused this whole debate on the human side against mutants. And he was, to my opinion, he's completely wrong, but he believed in so much that you understand where Friends of Humanity came from, where all those other those pro-human rights were, the right and everything. So it kind of like gave it another freshness of the villainy of human side and how they viewed mutants and why they feared mutants. So it's a pretty good story. And
all right. I'm gonna move us on to the next segment, if that's all right with both of you.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So segment 3 is whose ideology is more convincing. Now that will be to, I don't care if it's hero or villain. You could say Charles Xavier, Apocalypse, whoever you guys think has the more convincing mutant agenda at heart. You know what I'm saying? So I'll start Pedro off for this one. So Dad, take it away.
I'm going to do this real quick and explain. I'm going to give Tom the option here because there's so many ideologists, but you got to open up your mind. You think everybody's thinking Xavier. He's right. And I agree. But you got to open. But here's the thing. Be open to your mind in this question, because this question is double loaded. You got Professor Xavier, who believes the peaceful existence between mutant and humans, right? You got Magneto, who believes mutants should inherit the Earth. Okay? Understandable. And it's a good argument on Magneto's part. Then you got Reverend William Stryker, which I brought up before. He believes mutants are abomination. This is the human world, and mutants just need to be erased. Yeah. But then you got Bastion, if you remember from the X-Men cartoon. They were machines working for the humans, and they felt that mutants were also abomination. But if you wipe off the mutants out of the Earth, then he doesn't believe humans. Then.
I am so sorry. Explain to the audience Bastion real quick.
Bastion is
from the comics. Don't worry
from
about
the comic.
The TV
from
show.
What I knew from the comic on Bastion, he was I think a mutant who was he was a technopath basically, and he ended up being more Sentinel than human. But he believed, as a human, he believed what they believe. Mm-hmm. But he didn't realize he could have been a mutant. And as being part of a Sentinel, it gave him that program that he'll do everything possible to wipe them all out. And with Central technology like Master Molding them, he could do it. And he could control them. So, I think that gives him a little edge compared to Reverend Stryker, because once you wipe out the mutants, humans are next. And even though he thinks he's a human, he probably would look out more for Sentinel, and that's what makes me concerned about him. Apocalypse, he says only the strong survive, and that makes me wonder what he means by that, because obviously we're thinking mutants. The strongest mutants should survive, they should inherit the Earth. Mm-hmm. But what happens if you meet a human that's strong enough to take out a mutant? Would he survive too? And I don't believe he would go for that. I think he's more towards mutants, but he wants them to dominate the Earth. So then you have Valerie Cooper, who believes mutants could be an asset working for the government, maybe S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe the U.S. government. It's kind of a little. I'm kind of edgy with her because she's not respecting the mutants, but she thinks they could help.
I apologize. I'm gonna ask that. Any ideology we're talking about, we're going to keep it to mutant specific. So no humans that have ideology about X-Men.
Okay. So we're taking off the Stryker.
Take the Cooper.
Yeah. So then, okay.
Unless she's a mutant and we don't know about.
Well, she actually supported the mutants during this. She might come out as just because you support it and then you're using us to be a soldier, it's kind of like, And speaking of soldiers, and this one saves me on you, Cable's ideology. He believes, a mutant army could save the world. whether you're protecting humanity or protecting mutant enemy. I like that
So
one.
now, is he thinking, Cable's thinking from what happens in the future in
Yes.
his timeline?
Yes, whatever bad things that happen in the future, which is basically mutants were on the run. There was a war between humans and mutants, and mutants and mutants. So when he comes here, he sees a second chance on stopping what happens in the future, and he forms his own team, X-Force, obviously, and he forms other teams, and he even helps the X-Men. He even joins them.
Oh,
Yes.
gentlemen, we actually have a question from the audience. One of our mods, Grandpa Chewy, which is he streams with me all the time, so make sure you guys give him some love.
Grandpa Chili.
Wait, hang on, hold on. I didn't turn back on your mic. Hold up. So his question is, how come mutants get so much crap, but like people who are cool with superpowered people? Like, what's the divide?
Like, say an example, like the Avengers, like with no powers. I think because when mutants are, they say they go through puberty and they get their powers, and they're not in control of these powers. So let's say I turned 16, all of a sudden my eye, like Cyclops, I have my eyes open, don't know that I have to wear those ruby quartz glasses to block it, and that's how I'm looking at Tommy and I vaporize him. So I made myself more dangerous towards humanity. I killed a human by accident, but they're not going to look at it that way. Yeah. Where a person like, let's say, Captain America, he wasn't born with it. He was injected it, and he went through all that stuff to get his strength and powers. And he used it to fight the Nazis and fight Hitler and fight the Red Skull. Comes back 50 years later or so, and he joins the Avengers, and he's basically protecting humanity, and he's making it publicly known. Now, the X-Men, I think, did also try to publicly know him, but the simple fact that they explained they're mutants, it reminds everybody the racist card, which is basically, well, if you're born like that, you're dangerous. Where the Avengers, there's no mutant, except for the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, which for some reason Cap defends it, and they say it's okay. And
then on that subject, you have your, like, for example, a lot of people are, you said with the race card and all that, they're afraid that the mutants are going to overpower and take over. So therefore, of course, that's why they created the Sentinels, to keep them in check or whatever have you. And then you have your other, like, for example, Spider-Man, who's a non-mutant. He was bitten by a radioactive powers. Spider, which gave him and granted him powers. So
and he scares J. Jonah Jameson.
The human race, they're just afraid that the mutants are going to take over. And then you got people like Magneto running around causing all this destruction, and they're like, see what we told you? These mutants are really bad and dangerous. We need to get rid of them and make them all extinct.
And let's not forget, when they say X-Men, and they talk about why they're who they are, they're trying to protect the world that hates and fears them. And I think that's the reason why they don't give X-Men a chance, where Avengers, they promote themselves as Earth's mightiest heroes. Why would you be afraid of Earth's mightiest heroes, but you could be afraid of a team that hates and we hate and fear them?
And then again, Professor Xavier sits back and he's like, "Listen, we're trying really hard to integrate everything, the human race and the mutants together, just so we can all live as like one happy family." But then you got those villain mutants that come out of the woodwork and they make us look bad. They make it look
worse. Exactly. Yeah. And just keep in mind that Avengers, as much as they're adored by fans, they also get criticized by the fans just as bad as the X-Men. So I think the double standard isn't really a double standard, because the Avengers hear it more too. Sometimes they just retreat from it, where the X-Men has to live with it. There's a big difference there. So hope that helps you out, Chili. Love the name.
Yeah, Chewy's great. He's one of our Chewy.
Chewy. I thought you said Chili. Sorry, Chewy. I apologize. 100%.
Recipe left eye. Recipe left eye. Chili and T-Boss.
Yeah.
All right, so gentlemen, just to make sure we're following the time and everything too. Yeah. I want you, Pedro, just to get to your point about the
Cable who fights for it, and then Mr. Sinister who believes mutants are like livestock. They can experiment them. They can do whatever they want with them. That's why Sinister's a little sick in the head. But of all those people, we're probably in agreement on it, but could there be an argument between some of these villains and heroes and what their ideology is?
Well, if you sit back and look at it, no one's really right, no one's really wrong, in a sense. they
Through their eyes.
believe in what they believe.
Right.
You know. On that, let's segue into mine. I've got Professor Xavier Magneto, leader of both opposing factions in the X-Men, have compelling ideologies, but neither one is a clear-cut winner.
No.
Here's a breakdown of their views and arguments. Professor Xavier, ideology. Peaceful coexistence between mutants and humans. Professor Xavier believes mutants can integrate into society through education, understanding, and diplomacy. Argument 4 offers a more hopeful and optimistic vision of the future. Coexistence could lead to a richer society for both mutants and humans benefits from each other's strengths. Arguments against has a naive idealistic humanity fear and prejudice against mutants might make peaceful integration impossible. Now, Magneto, ideology, mutant supremacy. Magneto believes mutants are superior to humans and should rule over them to ensure their survival. Argument 4 highlights the historical oppression of mutants by humans. A mutant-led society could offer them safety and security. Argument against promotes violence and discrimination. Creates a potential
That's where
for
the
a
line is
tyrant
blurred.
mutant regime.
That's where the line is blurred, right there.
So basically, ultimately, the more convincing ideology depends on your perspective. Do you believe in peaceful coexistence? Then potential understanding is. Then Professor Xavier's vision
Professor X.
is yours. If you're concerned about the safety of humans, then Magneto's arguments might hold some weight. And
So,
that's-
Tommy, actually, just to bounce off of that, then, if you yourself were a mutant, where do you think, what ideology you as a person would fall under?
That's where the argument is.
I would probably go with Magneto, or leaning more towards Magneto, because if anything, he's going to protect me. And then we're all going to band up with the rest of the mutants that feel the same, and we're going to try to protect our own, because left and right, man, it looks like the humans are trying to take us out.
If you're a mutant,
If you're a mutant.
Yeah. And a human treats you like crap growing up, or make you scared that you're dangerous, you're obviously gonna lean toward Magneto.
Yeah.
Because you start becoming better towards humanity. Where if you actually revealed yourself, you outed yourself to somebody, a human, saying you're a mutant, and they still accept you for who you are, that teaches them that what Xavier believes in can actually happen between humanity and mutants. And, you could take that into the real world, which, if we did that, it'd be a happier world.
I mean, there's no real clear-cut answer to this, but like I said, if all pretty much how you feel towards each side, whether it be Professor X or Magneto, but I would probably join up with Magneto, go up to the asteroid, and we're going to sit back and we're going to try to exist.
Until it blows up.
Or just exist, because...
It's not easy to exist in that world.
But then, it's tough for Professor Xavier because he's always taking steps back because the bad guy villains are always doing something wrong.
I mean, humanity is so scared of them, they keep finding ways to, wipe down mutants, where they don't accept the whole living peace and equality. If they did that, I think it would be a lot less violence, and at the same time, coexistence would have been pretty cool. Mutants wouldn't have to be scared of us, and we wouldn't have to be scared of them. And that way, X-Men would have been just like the Avengers.
Yep. There you go.
There you go.
All right, gentlemen, before we go on to our next segment, Father, I heard you have some information about our Patreon. Would you like to take that away?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Let me just flip the page for you. So, check this out. We have finally opened our Patreons. If you'd like to support us or even create topics for future episodes that you want to see, sign up on patreon.com/Convo Express. No spaces in between, by the way. You could join for as low as $4 a month. You will get extras, behind-the-scene contents, as well as creating topics for our future episodes. The link will be down in the descriptions. So, sign up. Help support us, and we got your back, and we keep up with our combos, as we always do. So.
You sounded so fucking nervous to do that one. I'm not even going to lie to you.
Once I get comfortable, we got it.
Did we talk about Dubby?
You want to talk about Dubby? Let's talk about the Dubby. Let's talk about Dubby. We're sponsored by Dubby Energy Drinks. And as you can see, it's made with 10 ingredients made from coffee bean extract. It tastes delicious. It had all types of ingredients and flavors available, including zero sugar energy drinks. Go to
That's all they are.
It's all they are.
You're ruining me again.
You mean they got milkshakes?
No, it's an energy drink. It's an energy drink. Go to w.gg. Use the promo code PEVGAMER, all caps, for 10% off the entire order.
All caps.
Get your dub on. We have starter kits, which I ordered, and you'll find out my results on that. It comes with powders and little tubes that you can mix with your drinks.
Awesome.
All types of flavors. Let me tell you something. And, not going to spoil it, but it was actually, very interesting.
It's quite good. Tried it, and it tastes really, really good.
So,
really
it's
good.
in my cap cup, representing Marvel. But get your dub on, because I do. So, I'll wait for the break time.
All right, gentlemen. So we're going to move on, and I know these next two subjects are going to be wildly long, so everybody buckle up. So segment 4 is what we're on. Who's your top 3 X-Men artists and writers? Do them separately. So top 3 artists, top 3 writers for both of you. Pedro, take it away.
We're going to be in agreement on this. If he disagree, I'll let him cut in.
Pretty damn close.
All right, I'll start with number 3. The third best writer is to me, it's Jonathan Hickman, and I'll tell you why. Jonathan Hickman is doing the recent X-Men run with a bunch of other writers, but he was the mastermind about the X-Men and mutants all around the world going to this place called Krakoa. Krakoa was a mutant island. You remember him from the early issues of X-Men. He comes back and he makes a deal with Xavier, Magneto, Sinister, Apocalypse, and all the mutants, even with the help of Dr. Moira McTaggart, who later on we find out she's a mutant as well. But anyway, I'll make it real quick. It's an island paradise. All mutants live there. They all rush to go in there, and it's basically coexistence of mutants. Villains, mutants, and hero mutants. And the idea is they use their mutant powers to survive. They end up finding the cure for cancer and all these medical treatments. We talked about the 5 with Hope Summer, yes, and 4 other mutants. I think it was Proteus. What's her name? She was a time traveler.
There's quite a few in there.
There was 5 mutants. I'll do my research on this, but they ended up finding a way for resurrection. Basically, mutants who dies can come back to the resurrection. It's something to do with an egg using Cerebro's. It has a record button. Yeah. Every time they try to find mutants around the world, it recorded their brain patterns. So it's always updating, and what they use that as your brain to return. The egg will bring your body back, and then you survive. It was almost the best way for mutants to never die. They always came back. Even the older X-Men that we all know and love came back, and it was like a paradise for mutants. And they became such a big nation. They were trying to make deals with other countries as long as they got support as being a nation, and they would help them, and they could do trade bartering. Pretty political, pretty cool. Some countries were willing to help them. Some countries resisted, and it caused all these other problems for the past. And it was going on for 3 years. The storyline is going 3 years strong. It's about to end. Not going to spoil it for you, but I think Jonathan Hickman to me, he's ahead of his time with the storyline. And it kept us going. You have to read everything that came out under X-Men. Excalibur, X-Force, X-Factor, The Marauders, even some limited series that came out, Wolverine, obviously. And it just, you follow how the mutants lived on Krakoa, how they worked with certain humans, how certain evil humans joined up, they formed Orchid. Moira even turned on the X-Men, and it was crazy. And I think how it's going, and I actually enjoy it. It was hard for me to get into it because it was so far advanced story-wise. But once you got all your information, it was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is like awesome, and this is different. So I put Jonathan Hickman as 3. 2 is Grant Morrison. He was the guy that basically, after Chris Claremont left, he gave the mutants another chance in life. He introduced some mutants without making them new. Mm-hmm. He also made storylines better. He was only around for a short time, but he made a stamp on the X-Men
Made
world.
an impact. Made a very big impact.
I thought he did a pretty good job on it. And, you know, it leads to my number one. And he's been on it for almost 3 decades. Chris Claremont. He's like, to me, next to Stanley, he's like the man of the X-Men universe. The Days of Future Past storyline, the Phoenix Saga, the Mutant Marauders, all those storylines came from Chris Claremont. He is a genius. He knows what X-Men are. He made Wolverine even more cooler after his introduction back in the days.
And he's the longest writing X-Men writer to write for the X-Men.
Exactly. And basically everything you've seen in the comic book, you've seen in the cartoons, the movie, all off of Chris Claremont. Hands up to Chris Claremont. He's the man. Artist-wise, we're probably going to be in disagreement, but I'll just do my best on this. Number 3, art-wise, if you're a manga fan, you probably would agree with me. Joe Madureira. He is phenomenal when he drew all the X-Men. Brought manga to the art style where artwork was pretty much judged like American style. He came into the X-Men and refreshed us and challenged all artists.
Yeah, Wolverine was sick.
And he made Wolverine sick. I know, he was really nice. Especially at a bad time without the adamantium.
Yep, Bone Claw.
So Madureira to me is number 3. Number 2, it was very difficult to decide which one, but I'm going to say it was Andy Kubert.
Hey, there you go.
One of the Kubert brothers. The other choice would have been Adam Kubert. But Andy Kubert is more laid back, I feel, where Adam Kubert is more like, you know, up in your face, ready to fight, action scene. Adam Kubert could do both. And I think that's why I put him high in this. He does a lot of X-Men titles and covers and stuff. He came back. He even did Ultimate X-Men run as well with his brother Adam. And then, you know.
Didn't Adam do the cover of X-Men 266, Gambit? I believe.
Yeah, he did the cover. Yes,
yeah,
not the interior.
No,
he did the
interior.
cover.
Yeah.
So
Interior
that's
was
how
garbage.
far back he did, and
Basura.
he did Ultimate and Origin. He did Origin. That was for Wolverine's origin that we seen from Wolverine Origin the movie. But his work was phenomenal, and it leads me to my number one man, and I'm looking forward to meeting him this summer.
I know who it is. I know who he is.
Who is it?
It's
Jim Lee.
It's Stan Lee's younger brother. Asian brother, Jim Lee.
No relation, by the way. No relation. Let's not get to that. But Jim Lee, he was only on. He relaunched X-Men back in the 90s. It was the number 1 book of all time. He did it for like 11 issues before he ended up leaving us to go to Image. Before X-Men 1, he was on Uncanny X-Men. He was, no one could touch him when he did that run as well.
From 1989 to 1992.
Good one. Good catch. And Jim Lee was just, he drew Wolverine awesome. He drew Gambit awesome. He drew Cyclops awesome. Everybody he touched was gold. He right now he's running DC Comics. I wish he would come back. Not gonna happen if he's running DC Comics, but I'll give him props. DC got a winner there. But Jim Lee as an artist was phenomenal.
He was way ahead of his time. Ahead of his time.
And you could come in and tell me your list.
All right, basically it's pretty much what he had. We won't talk about Grant Morrison. These are my top writers. Number 3 is Grant Morrison. He already touched on him.
Put him at 3. Okay.
Yeah. Number 2 is Chris Claremont, legendary writer, of course, from 1975 to 1991. And my number 1 on that, which is different, is Stan Lee, because he introed the X-Men from 1963. Without him, there would be nothing.
Yes.
And not only that, here's a little tidbit for you. He was a sergeant in the Army, which I never knew.
Really?
His real name,
he was in the military.
His real name is Stanley Martin Lieber.
Mm.
So Stanley for short. And now my artists is they're a little bit different than Pedro's, but mine ends up with his Jim Lee. Number 3 is Dave Cockrum, which drew for the X-Men. Cockrum. From Heavy Paws.
Heavy Paws. Sorry, Dave.
1970 to 1980.
Sorry about that, Dave.
Drew the giant size X-Men.
When he brought
which introduced several
Wolverine,
new characters.
Colossus,
Wolverine,
Storm, Nightcrawler.
And Drew did the run on X-Men, which later became Uncanny from X-Men 94.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is John Byrne from 1975 to 1981, who took over, a legendary artist. I can't tell you how many characters this guy co-created or actually created himself, but Chris Claremont, he touched on. John Byrne, amazing artist.
Kitty Pryde.
He actually did a nice little run over in Wolverine, he did like, I believe, a 3-part story, Acts of Vengeance.
Yes.
Versus Killer Shark, I believe.
Killer Shark, yes.
And then my number one all time is Jim Lee from 1989. I said it before.
No relation to Stanley.
No relation, not even a cousin or anything. 1992, my all time favorite X-Men, and again in 1991 he relaunched the series, did 11 issues. He did. That was the number one all time selling comic ever. It was issues A through E. There was the connecting covers. Of course, all the interiors were the same. But the E was a gatefold cover.
Yes.
And that's actually the first cameo appearance of Omega Red. It shows a picture of him and a poster that pulls out that says future villains or things to come. Things to come. And these posters are beautiful.
And also split the team up, Team Gold and Team Blue.
Yep.
There's so many X-Men.
And that's pretty much my top 3 artists, top 3 writers.
And the quick honorable mentions, because even though we gave us only top 3, because that's all we had, I just want to give shout out to Scott Lobdell and Fabian Nicieza, both good writers on the X-Men. And artist-wise, give a shout out to Wilk Portaccio and John Romita Jr., Spider-Man Gore, but he also had a good run on the X-Men. So, take it away, Pav.
JR.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so we are going to move on to our 5th segment. So this is going to actually be in reverse than what I wrote it down for you guys. But I want you guys to agree. Worst to best X-Men movies, all of them. Go.
It's funny, we had this debate a little early before we went on the show.
Before we went on camera.
Because we wanted to agree. We wanted to come at you and agree on the movies we picked. And obviously we don't agree on everything, but... but we're going to do our best.
I'll go with your list.
He'll say he'll go on my list because he missed a couple.
Because ours were pretty damn similar.
It was similar, but there was a good argument, and we're gonna debate it here. So we'll start with number 13 because there was 13 X-Men movies that came out, and I hate there's no way we should depromote a movie and say this was the worst of the X-Men movie.
Yeah, again, these are our choices.
But this is just our choices.
What we feel.
Everyone has their opinions. So don't think we're trashing the movie just because it's the worst. But we have our reasons to believe why it could be. Not saying it is. You could enjoy this movie, and X-Men, when it comes to X-Men, you can always enjoy it. But here it is. 13, I put in X-Men Dark Phoenix. And the reason why I picked it is because it just did not make sense on certain things. The villains, which was the aliens from outer space, we had no idea who they were trying to get Phoenix. And then using the way they used Storm and Magneto, and there was no Wolverine, obviously. Nightcrawler, I thought was pretty cool the way you used them, but during the fight scenes was the only time we liked them.
And Dark Phoenix, you said, right?
Dark Phoenix.
And then to have Magneto go against Phoenix, that didn't make any sense.
I know. He looked like he was hiding and he was trying to get them out, and she came to him for help, even though she's turning on the team. And then that whole fight scene with Quicksilver, it kind of took that X-Men world down a little bit, and I put that really down on our list. And then it follows up with number 12, which same reason, but more, it was better, and I will tell you why. X-Men Last Stand. Here's why I say better. Tommy, it's a sore. Last Stand. It's a sore stop.
Hold on.
Sorry, Tom.
All right, go ahead.
You gotta understand. Last Stand, it was really bad because they dropped the ball on the whole Phoenix side. They had the chance to tell us a really good Phoenix saga. Apparently, both of those movies couldn't tell crap about the Phoenix saga.
They rushed the hell out of it.
They rushed it. But Last Stand, the one thing I did like about it, I put it better than Dark Phoenix, they introduced more mutants. Whether it was cool or bad, you got to see a Juggernaut, you got to see
too many mutants.
The Horsemen. It was just... It actually was better. It just... The last fight scene with the X-Men fighting against the Brotherhood was ridiculous. And then the Phoenix shows up and vaporizes everybody. The way she vaporized Xavier, what's up with that? And then he comes back later on. Did not make sense.
That was bad.
So I would agree with you on that. But I think it was better than Dark Phoenix, which made no sense at all.
Oh, Dark Phoenix was
and then speaking of making no sense, we go to 11. It gets better, Tom. It gets better. Okay. Wolverine Origins. Well, you might want to put it back in you. Wolverine Origin was better than those two movies because it was the closest that we could get visually of Origin, the book that I told you earlier by Andy Kubert and Paul Jenkins and them. And it told how Wolverine first popped his claw at his young age. You know,
James Howlett, right?
Yes, James Howlett. Yeah, no, first time we even heard that name.
Yeah, James Howlett.
In the real world, not in the comic.
Yep.
We found out the comic through Origins. Anyway, it just dropped the ball when Deadpool comes out with no mouth. He was the big baddie in this movie after they introduced the whole Weapon X team, which I thought was pretty cool up to a certain point. The way they dropped the ball on how they handled the relationship with Silver Fox, and just Gambit was pretty cool.
Yeah,
he was pretty good. The
nice
actor was pretty cool. It was nice to see him, but I think towards the end it just didn't fit in the movie.
That Will.i.am in it.
Yeah, Will.i.am. I know.
Yeah.
He didn't even sing a song in that movie. So that was another point on. But it was better than the other two movies I said, and we go to our number 10, which is better than Wolverine Origin, The Wolverine.
There you go.
And I believe it was better because it took Wolverine to Japan, just like the book. I think what killed the movie to me was the scene where he lost his claw when he was sliced with the sword, Silver Samurai. And I was very upset with that because he should have healed back up. He should have had that claw still going. It also made me worried about the adamantium that was in his body. If they sliced it out, adamantium is a strong metal. I don't care what was in that sword.
The strongest metal.
It should not have broken the adamantium. I was really upset about that. And if you agree with me, please plug us in on that.
Jesus Christ, they made Silver Samurai like 100 feet tall in that movie.
I know, right? But that made no sense. I mean, you got two other actors in there, and one of them, he could have. Wasn't he in Mortal Kombat? I hate to bring up a separate movie. He plays Scorpion. He's able. Imagine seeing him fight Wolverine. That I would have paid money to see, and I would have put Wolverine higher in this list. Just point that out to you. Leads me to my number 9, and you probably want to go all the way to 13. I could understand you. X-Men Apocalypse. Now, I love the actor who played Apocalypse, Oscar. I forgot his last name, but
Oscar
he played.
Mayer-Wiener?
He was the guy who played Moon Knight. By the way, that's a great series on Disney Plus.
Great actor.
He was a great actor. I think whoever did the makeup on him and the armor and explained what his powers was, they dropped the ball on Apocalypse.
They could have kind of like CG'd him in it. I would have been happy with that, but try to make him look more towards the comic. I know you're never going to get from the comic to the movie because that's what they do. But I felt that was really bad.
And how he fit in the story was a little bit lost. Like the strong survive, and he makes his 4 horsemen, and this was Tommy's biggest feat. I did like how they had the 4 horsemen. They introduced Archangel the right way. Psylocke and Storm, I did not mind, but he had a beef with Magneto, and I thought it was okay, but then again, in the end, it didn't make sense, so I agree with Tommy on this, but he had a really bad beef on this.
I mean, how are you going to make Magneto, whether it be comic, movie, or whatever, how are you going to make him follow somebody? He's his own. If anything, he's going to make Apocalypse follow him.
We had an argument recently about that, and I tried to defend. Magneto's. He was coerced by Apocalypse, but he does have a good point. His ideology, which we spoke about earlier, would have prevented that from happening. Yeah. So he had a good point on it. It was nice to see, like I said, the Archangel Transverse, Nightcrawler coming in the team. Jean Grey becoming the Phoenix, which I thought that was a good setup, and then they dropped the ball on Dark Phoenix.
My God.
And plus, she kicked Apocalypse ass, so it might have helped you on that one. It leads me to number 8, New Mutants. Now, Tommy also would have put this low. I kind of want to defend this. No one never heard of New Mutants till that movie came out, and who was on that team. The way they renditioned it and introduced us to Rain, to Sam, to Roberto, to even Ileana, which is the popular New Mutants, told me that's how they did it right there. What they did wrong was the story around it. They put Dr. Cecilia Reyes, who is a mutant X-Men, and they made her wrong, making it look like she was working for Mr. Sinister or a group that she was working with. And then on top of that, the Bear, which he is a villain of the New Mutants, but it did not look right in the movie. And so, but it was nice to have that horror feel to the movie. So I had to put it higher. Tommy, I know you have a problem with the Bear.
I was telling him that it was nice to see it on the big screen, to see any mutant on the big screen was great.
Introduced them.
But the storyline was not good, and I just didn't like the feel of the movie, how it went. And I mean, I saw it, I watched it because I had to watch it, because I'm a comic book fan, and I'm appreciative of all that's, comic series or whatever have you, but it just was. It was really bad sitting through that movie.
Debate.
I saw it, but it's not one of my favorites.
Don't worry, Tom.
I wouldn't go back and watch it.
The list will get better. So 7.
Or worse. I'm just joking.
Well, we'll find out. I'll see your reaction. We'll see his reaction from here. X-Men, the first X-Men movie came out. Bryan Singer's X-Men.
Year 2000, baby.
Yes, came out at number 7. It was a good way to introduce the X-Men. I ranked it low for only one stupid reason, but you gotta agree. The costumes. Why the black costume? I understand they couldn't do it back then, but it still irked me that Wolverine was in that black outfit.
I think they were trying to sell toys,
I mean, the recent movie that's coming out, Deadpool Wolverine, you see him in the gold costume, it works. Why couldn't they just make it work back then? But other than that, it was a great movie. It was a great introduction to the ideology of Professor X and Magneto. They got great actors who were portraying their characters, and the story was actually pretty good. I can't knock it for that. Yeah?
I mean, they did a really great spot on casting Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, which was great.
Almost went to Douglas Scott. Scary on that one.
But Wolverine in the movie is like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, look up to him. Man.
He's like 7 feet tall.
Maybe it's part of the multiverse.
Yeah. Oh, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
So it leads me to 6. 6, Deadpool 2. Cable was introduced. Domino was introduced.
Amazing job.
Ryan Reynolds was hilarious on the sequel. It was really good. It could have been higher. I think I only bring it down for one stupid reason, and it's because of the ending with the whole time traveling. It brings you that argument about what about Thanos if we would have choked him, when he was a baby. So Deadpool was doing stuff like that. But it was hilarious how he killed his Wolverine origin version of himself. So give it toodles to that.
Oh, thank you, Lord Jesus.
But the whole. I wish they would have spent more time on Cable's origin, which they only touched upon and made it a little sad. And too much on that kid, the chubby kid that Deadpool was trying to...
Yeah.
I thought he was putting too much into him on a mutant that we didn't even know anything about. So
I think they just try to make the plot funny.
It did. And it was. Don't get me wrong. But it just... We could have taken him out and put a real X-Men or a new mutant that he was trying to help.
I mean, Cable was nice to see Thanos. I mean, Josh Brolin. I mean, Thanos.
Cable.
in the movie.
From the Goonies.
Josh Brolin. But Cable was badass. I thought that the actor nailed the part.
Exactly. He nailed it. Thanos. He nailed his Cable.
That's my favorite out of the two.
That could be a future crossover. Keep that in mind.
Multiverse, baby.
All right, top 5. We're there. We're almost there.
We're almost there.
All right, 5, X-Men First Class. Hear me out. Out of all movies that get rebooted, this was the best. X-Men was good. X-Men First Class was good because it brought the X-Men universe back down to reality, put them in a past scenario, and it was actually, storyline was really good. They recasted the actors, which I thought did a really good job than the older actors.
So the young Professor Xavier.
The young Professor Xavier, Patrick Stewart, no disrespect, but this kid was pretty good as Xavier. The origin of Mystique and Xavier and Magneto's origin, it was phenomenal. So tip off on that one. But it couldn't beat number 4, which was the sequel of X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X2.
X-Men United.
X-Men United, there you go. I think the beginning sequence with Nightcrawler, awesome. The battle, the scene where they were being invaded in the school, awesome. Touching on the Weapon X origin, awesome. I could not find too much negativity to it. Even the introduction of William Stryker, another human, and the fact that they were the bad guys. I just wish that maybe a Sentinel would have helped.
That would have been cool.
That would have been even cooler, but even without it, it was still a good movie. Ranked number 4 on my list. Brings me to number 3, which, speaking of Sentinels, X-Men Days of Future Past. Awesome movie. It could be a little confusing with the timeline, going back in time and stuff like that. They changed up with Kitty Pryde helping them go back in time, but it was pretty cool. Seeing Wolverine being, returning, all the original cast with the new cast. I thought it was pretty good storyline, pretty good. The ending was a little fuzzy, that's why I brought it down on the list. But other than that, it was pretty good.
I really like that.
And and Wolverine still had his claws, even though it was bone claws, still
Bishop
pretty
was
good.
in that, correct?
Bishop was in it, and one of my favorite X-Men. I think he died in the end, though.
The actor portrayed it pretty good. I mean,
but the actor did pretty good,
For the most part,
and he did
play his role.
And the fact I didn't understand the tube on his gun looked like blood. I didn't understand that, but but the look of Bishop, hands down,
he nailed it.
I give it. And then we get up to the next two. Ready? Number 2 is Deadpool. Deadpool 1. Deadpool 2 was good. Deadpool 1, spot on. It was the introduction of Deadpool into the Fox universe. It was Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds, which we all dreamt be cast as Deadpool, pulled it off. You could tell that these writers and the actors had love for this character, and it was a phenomenal movie. Funny as hell. That's the Deadpool we know and love in the comic book.
Really nice to see him on the big screen too.
Yes,
man.
it was
That
awesome.
was really good.
Even the villain, what's his name?
He could have fought nobody. Now
Exactly. We got to see Colossus, a CGI Colossus. Because we had arguments over the years about the Colossus from the X-Men movie and the CGI Colossus. We got both dream come true, and we still don't know which was better. So, but they were both good, in my opinion. And the number 1 movie is, and it was supposed to be Hugh Jackman's final as Wolverine, Logan. Very emotional movie, a little bit
2017.
a little bit out there, but it was still number 1 because it had a very sad ending and introduced us to X-23.
Yep.
And she's very popular in the comic. I'll tell you that right now. It was really cool.
Show the old Professor Xavier.
It felt like Old Man Logan, done by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven. It just felt like that was the story, because that was a really good story in the comic. In the movie, it touched it. It was really good. That's why it was so high in this list, and it was very emotional invested for Wolverine. So Hugh Jackman, it was his swan song to Deadpool Wolverine, and that's what I'm looking forward to when it comes out this summer.
That's going to be amazing.
Pat, it's all you now.
All right, everyone. So I apologize for that. If you guys were watching on the live, we ended up running in some audio feedback issues. So what I've decided to do is edit the final segment onto the YouTube version of the show. We're going to try not to have this situation happen again, so I apologize to everybody. But let me cut on over to our Comic Convo Express stars. So our final segment was supposed to be a mutant abilities to name whose is basically useless. Whose mutant abilities are completely useless. We're going to let them go on. Tommy's going to give us the top 10 selling comic books right now, and then we'll wrap up the show. So, go ahead, gentlemen.
Well, we'll do the segment 6 on rapid fire on whose mutant powers are useless and why. And let me tell you something. We went through the archives, and I came up with, I had to keep my numbers down at 6, because 6 is a good number. So I'm going to start with this mutant called Maggot. He joined the X-Men in the late 90s. He had a mutant power where he had 2 giant slugs on the side that would eat anything, metals, rubber, everything. And to me, that was like, it was cool, but it was at first because of the way the artist drew it. But then it got weird. Because, this, apparently, it was something about his indigestive system and everything like that. And I just thought that it was a weird mutant power. I wouldn't want to be a mutant with that kind of power, with 2 slugs trying to eat me and everything like that. So, Maggot, you're on the list. 2, I'm going to count this as 2 people, because if you watch the cartoon X-Men Evolution, you will know one of the X-Men lineup, a guy named Spike, who is we call the nephew of Storm, whatever. But he does not exist in the Marvel Universe, but his powers derived from a mutant also came out that same year. Her name was Morrow. She was a Morlock that ended up joining the X-Men. She was a teenage girl who had bones that she could pull out of her body and use as those swords.
Blades, yeah.
But it would continue to grow. It was a continuous growth of bones in her body all over the place. It made her distorted a little bit. She was always concerned about her looks, and then she became so bitter that she ended up being a violent person, which was pretty cool about her. But her mutant powers, if your bone sticks out of your skin, it must hurt. And then you pull it out and you use somebody to hit like a bat or something. I thought that was weird. So, she held her own against Wolverine using this power. But to me, it's a sick power. I wouldn't use it. So, Morrow, Spike, both of you are on that list. Another one is another Morlock named Artie. He's one of the 2 kid mutants that hung out with the other mutant Leech. Mm-hmm. Basically cancels your power every time you're near him. His powers are pretty cool. Artie, his partner in crime, this other kid.
Artie, was he an artist?
He was. No, it was. It was worse. Every time he couldn't talk. He couldn't communicate with you.
That's right.
So in the book, he had like word balloons pop out, and he had pictures. Not word balloons with words what he's trying to say. if he wants to tell you about a Funko Pop, which is right here, he would come out with a balloon, and basically a Funko Pop would be in the middle. And you had to figure out what he was trying to say. You know, it was almost like talking to Lassie. So, Artie, you're on the list.
Whether you like it or not, Artie, you're
And,
on the list.
and another one came out in the Grant Morrison run, which he is good. They did create a mutant that was very, like, he should have had.
I think I know what you're going to talk about.
Beak.
Oh! He was one of mine.
He was good. I'm going to steal it from you.
All right.
Beak was a mutant who was just a chicken.
He
had
looked like a really big-ass bird.
He looked like a bird. He had feathers all over his body. We never knew if he could lay an egg.
No. And he couldn't even fly.
Yes. How do you see a chicken who has wings for an arm and he can't fly?
I mean, he can hover or glide, but he couldn't fly.
The only thing good about him, every time I saw him in the picture, he was drawn good by Frank Wiley, but it made me crave for KFC.
I just wanted to kill him and eat him.
Yes. Put some seasoning on
Pause. I didn't want to eat him. I wanted to enjoy him with dinner.
it. Yeah,
Pause.
well, after you cook them.
No, I said pause.
Hey, pause.
I did say pause.
You got to pause it.
Always pause.
So, Beak, you're on the list.
You're horrible.
Now, we come down to two more, and this one's going to be very interesting. This one, I thought he was like Mr. Fantastic, a stretch, you know, be like that.
Oh, I think I know
But
what you're going
no,
to say.
the way they explained his mutant power, it was sick.
Can I say his name?
Go ahead, Sid.
Skin.
Thank you. If you don't know who Skin is, read Generation X. Jubilee's team. It was pretty cool. It was pretty popular. They even made a movie on it. If you've seen this movie made for TV from Fox, it's called Generation X. Skin was in this movie, and if you remember the special effects, it looked very disgusting.
It was flea market.
It was very disgusting. He had extra skin, and it was stretched out. It was so disgusting. I mean, in real life, if you had that mutant power, you probably do what he would want to do, kill himself. No offense.
He would make a rope out of his fingers.
We can't Nirvana. He probably could Nirvana.
All day.
He did it. He just, come on now. I mean, if you had extra skin, what are you going to do with it? Let's be honest.
I know what I would do.
What would you do?
I would make a really big R.I.P. What's your next character?
And the final person, to me, he's the coolest mutant. He is. Mutant power, I'm question mark, and I put him on this list. Dupe from X-Static / X-Force.
There you go.
Dupe, if you read the book, you know who he is. You think he's pretty cool. He can handle his own. But you wonder who he is, if he's an alien. Because he looks, if you want me to describe what he looks like, it's really simple. From Ghostbusters, Slimer. You know what he looks like? Little green ball with a face and arms. That's Dupe. Now, what makes it worse, just like Slimer, can't communicate. I mean, in the cartoon, didn't Slimer talk English? In the movie, he couldn't communicate. Dupe would communicate in his language that no one understood what he was saying. Well, let me phrase that. Few people could understood, but I don't even know what language it is. That was supposedly his mutant power, and he always would come out with a hammer or a stick or something during fight battles. But majority of the time, he would always stick up with a camera to record everything because I guess X-Static was based on a reality show TV team of mutants. That was pretty cool about it. But he only fit in to record it and to communicate with their leader. But his mutant power did not make no sense to me. And I thought he was an alien at one point. So, Duke, I'm sorry. You're my favorite. You was awesome at Ecstatics. You're on my list.
Off with your head.
Off with your head. Tom, your list, please.
All right.
Put them on the list.
I had a couple that P had, but I'll talk about them. Number 5, a lot of people, I'm going to get a lot of slack from this. But, again, this is my choice. This is how I feel. Morph from the X-Men.
The cartoon?
Yep, from the cartoon and the comic. Actually, his first appearance was in Morph, let's see, New X-Men Adventures from 1992, issue number 1. The reason why I say Morph, because he can morph into other characters. Fine, good for,
almost like Misty.
Yeah, like, being a spy, infiltration, or whatever.
Right.
But for example, he'll turn to a Cable, and he wouldn't have his powers. He would turn to Wolverine. He couldn't use Wolverine's
powers,
bones, his claws, nothing.
Right.
So I kind of thought that was kind of not the greatest power, but I wouldn't have him on my team.
Well,
I wouldn't. In
his rendition of Exile, which was an alternate universe of Morph, he actually survived for a long time in that series. Everybody was dying in that issue, in those series. But Morph was very popular in that series. It helped bring him onto the animated series back in the 90s, or the other way around. But bottom line was, Morph survived that long for a goofy character, and it kind of gives my respect. But because you put him on the list, Morph, you're on the list.
And I went by the the ass scale. I went from 1 to 10. Morph, you are 8 out of 10 asses. That's my opinion.
Wow.
Number 4, I've got Gateway from the X-Men. Now, if you ever read the X-Men comics, Gateway's first appearance was in Uncanny X-Men 229 from 1988. Now, the Gateway's mutant powers was he can teleport you to wherever you want to go.
Cool power.
But the thing about that was it's very limited. He can only teleport you to where he's actually been. So if he hasn't been to Vegas, Paige was like, yo, dude, take me to Vegas. He's like, I can't take you to Vegas, but I can take you to Bridgeport. And he'll teleport you to Bridgeport because Gateway's only been to Bridgeport. Crazy,
he didn't
right?
look like he didn't even look like
No,
he
he
traveled.
just sat down. He didn't really say much, but you come up to him and he would
But
teleport
every time
you.
we saw him, he was in Australia. It looked like he wasn't traveling anywhere.
No, well, I'm sure his mutant power is he can teleport you where he's only been.
Right.
So you say, dude, take me to Russia. He's like, I can't take you to
Take
Russia.
you to Russia. I'll take you to Iceland.
So, Gateway, you get 5 asses out of 5 asses.
You're on the
Again,
list.
my opinion.
Gateway, you're on the list.
Number 3, you got your Beak. Again, from the X-Men. Oh,
You're
looks like a
already on the
bird.
list.
Can't do anything. I want to kill him. Throw some barbecue sauce on him and make him some chicken. Beak's first appearance was in New X-Men 117, September 2001.
Now, how many asses did you give him?
Oh, how many asses? He's got 1 out of 10. He's happy I gave him a 1 because he was an X-Men.
I'll throw in a leg, a breast, and a wing on
And
that.
a wing?
Yes.
Yeah, so 1 out of 10
Deep fried
asses.
ass.
It was just, he's ass, man. Just ass.
Just ass.
So, number 1, I'm going to get a lot of slack on this one. It's this girl right here. Her name is Jubilation Lee. The reason why I chose her, because if I wanted to watch 4th of July, I would go out during the New Year, whatever have you, or watch some fireworks. Because her powers were horrible. All it was throwing fireworks. Light. It was a light show.
Now, don't get fooled by how she fought Bastion in the cartoon.
Listen, I got love for her, but I don't love her. I'm not in love with her.
You're not in love with her. She's too young for you.
Like
anyway.
I said, Jubilation Lee, well, she probably grew up during the years since 1997.
She's still young. They age different.
So now there's 2 versions of Jubilee. Well, first I'll give you. She's got a 7 out of 10 asses because she's cute. But anyway, she gets 7 out of 10 asses. I mean, because she's so popular.
Jailbait.
But again, there's 2 versions of Jubilee. P can touch on it. There's the Jubilee Firework Girl, and then there's the Vampire Jubilee, who later obtained vampire powers. She gets no ass. I like that look and how she looks, and of course her vampire powers. Amazing.
It's funny. It takes for her to become a vampire to be off the list.
Yes.
But if you need to be a vampire to be cool, then you need to be on this list.
Tell you
Jubilee,
what,
you're on the list.
If we're in a fight and you're throwing fireworks at me, you're the first one I'm gonna kill. Just for the hell of it, I'm gonna kill you because you're the first one.
Don't confuse her powers with Dazzler's powers. Keep that in mind.
No, different.
Very similar.
Yeah,
Well,
very
they
similar,
both do
but
fireworks.
different. Yeah.
But one needs light to do it, and it becomes more dangerous. Where Jubilee's just out of control and it's just for show.
Yeah.
So
Not my
she
favorite.
is on Jubilee. You're on the list.
And then number 1 would be Skin, which you already mentioned about Generation X. His first appearance was in First appearance was in Uncanny X-Men 317, October
During the
1994.
Fan Lax Confident. That was a good storyline.
Yes. Not a big fan. I mean, he grew 6 feet of more skin, and you practically couldn't really do anything with it. So he'd probably be the second one I kill in battle.
Now, how many
Jubilee's
asses?
getting killed. He's getting killed.
Now, how many asses would you give him, especially with all that skin?
He gets all the ass. He's 10 out of 10 asses. He's that horrible. He gets all the ass.
And you could probably stretch more ass out of it.
He's all ass, and I can't do it. And thank you, Lord Jesus, for having no ass.
Ugh. Talk about moving powers.
Here we go. Hold on. Clap on.
Clap off.
Clap off. All right, guys. P, anything else you want to touch on or notable anything?
We'll be back on live on Twitch this Saturday, coming Saturday morning. So be on the lookout for that. Be on also on the lookout for us on YouTube. You know our YouTube channel, and again, like and subscribe. Sorry for the technical difficulty, but we're gonna troop it.
Conversation with us. Like and subscribe. Hit the bottom and put your comments.
Don't forget Go to your local comic store and always have these kind of combos with us.
And just before we go, real quickly, I'd like to touch on the top 10 hot comics of the week.
Yes.
Number 10, Fantastic Four, 48. Why is number 48 there, P?
Why is the first appearance of the Silver Surfer?
Norman Rod. Even though the new movie's coming out, or its script, or with the
I hope
chick,
the rumor's wrong. I hope
with the chick
wrong.
playing Silver Surfer. First cameo, Galactus. Number 9 is Hulk 180. P, what happens in Hulk 180?
The first appearance of the
Cameo
best there
appearance
is, the best there was, and the
of
best there ever
Wolverine.
will be. Wolverine.
Number 8 is The Last Ronin. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles got a video game coming
Very
out.
good storyline.
Number 7, you got Marvel premiere Iron Fist, because talk to Daredevil and stuff coming out.
Yes.
Number 6, you got Captain America 100, first solo Cap book, Silver Age goodness. Number 5, X-Men 266. P, what's so special about X-Men Uncanny X-Men 266?
The first appearance of Gambit.
First appearance Gambit. Fun fact, if you look at the cover, Gambit, that's the first time they ever show him with some pink leotards on, I believe.
And
if you ever see that cover.
And don't give up on Gambit. FYI, spoiler alert. We'll give you more details on it.
X-Men 97, baby. Number 4, you got Wolverine number 1, Frank Miller goodness. All the movie hype between, Deadpool, Wolverine coming out. Number 3, New Mutants 98. P, what happens in New Mutants 98?
First appearance of the Merc with the Mouth, Deadpool.
Oh, all right. Nice.
In a New Mutant book.
In a New Mutant book.
There you go.
Number 2, Uncanny X-Men 101. First appearance of Jean Grey as the Phoenix.
Yes, very good book.
1990. Because of the X-Men 97 hype. Number 1, Uncanny X-Men 130. First appearance of Taylor Swift. Dazzler. All right, here we go. First appearance of Taylor Swift. Hopefully she's going to be in the movie, like I said before, stated earlier in the earlier segment.
I got a feeling when she successfully portrays Dazzler, we're going to forget the name. It's going to be
amazing.
Taylor Swift
It's going to
in
be
Marvel.
crazy. You know what? She could do a horrible job. I would still, just to see her as the character would be amazing. Have her show up in a little Dazzler outfit, that she has, and I'd be happy.
It'll be another Taylor Swift song in that movie.
I would be happy. It should be cool. She'd do the soundtrack.
As long as she uses her mutant powers, I'll be happy with that.
That'd be pretty cool, man. All right, guys. Again, thank you for having a conversation with us, and we really appreciate you. Tom McCoy, and that's the Marvel fanboy, Pedro.
Represent. We'll see you guys this week.